Wakanda Forever official trailer has finally dropped and the Panther reveal. Next up on Just to Talk. So let's talk about it. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, Nove718. We're gonna get right to it because they dropped the Black Panther Wakanda Forever 2 trailer, and it's finally out. The first one, I actually was always looking at it like a trailer, but it's actually considered a teaser trailer, and for all intents and purposes it was excellent. Coming right fresh off the heels of the death of Chadwick Boseman, which literally was about, was it a year, maybe two, just about 2 years ago, and how to handle moving forward with the franchise with respect to the loss of your actual centerpiece, your star, which the whole film kind of like survives on. And with his loss, there's plenty of lore in the comics that had other people wear the mantle and don the mantle of the Black Panther, but the argument has arisen about the complexities around it. Everything from losing historically the most recognized and the first mainstream black superhero that was created, and not being able to tell his story. Then you have to deal with the backlash, because let's be for real, comic book movies are more male-centered, especially when you're dealing with kids. This is just the facts. They're the number one drivers of the action figures, because most of these action figures are male-centered. Always has been. It's just what it is. I don't want to get into the arguments of social construction, because them shits have been, those theories are just that. They're actual doctors that have done the science. This is not even something that is debatable, because that's the reason why you only see professional pontificators argue it. You never see scientists, people that study children from the very beginning, not just a mom or a dad dealing with their child. You're talking about someone deals with children in arrogance from a very scientific matter and standpoint. Again, there's a reason why when people present these arguments, they are always in abstract details. And when I say abstract, in the sense of it's hyper subjective, and it deals with fancy theoretical applications such as my truth, which when you really dissect the verbiage of my truth, then if it's your truth and my truth could be different than your truth on any given topic, then it's kind of not the truth. The truth is infallible, it's immobile. It requires no friendships, no ownerships. That being said, in order to have the actual conversation, you have to deal with it in a very objective manner. And objectivity is kind of hard when you're dealing with people's personal feelings and emotions, especially surrounding so many different topics that are bundled right around the Black Panther and how we can deal with it. Everything from seeing another, being okay with the death of another black man, the superhero and all other superheroes in his story, or it seems to be furthering his story, or all the female characters. In a time when women are complaining not enough female representation, now we have a black male character, a black man historical black male character in terms of it being the first most recognizable superhero. And in Marvel's stable, that will actually get his own centerpiece film. The first one to get his own film in this MCU universe. And we lose him, and now his story seems to be carried on by the female counterparts. And this opens up a lot of social political arguments that we can have out. This is not what the channel is here for. Just express a lot of different ways these arguments have went. Being okay with the death of it, being so quick to refusing allowing for another black male to take on the role when we don't have as many minority when it comes to representation, since that seems to be a big topic of conversation. And we're losing another black male representative. Now you can also argue, hey, well, you got the new Captain America, and now it seems that War Machine is going to be front row and center. We have other black characters, yes, but they haven't taken on any true big significant space in the MCU. We just started getting it with Black Panther, and with his second film actually really propelling him into into becoming a fixative. We lose the actor, and then all of a sudden no one can play this role except this actor, and then no other black actor can kind of further the story of a character that has a wealth of legacy when it comes to storytelling and just the concepts that go on around them. And then you have other people that will argue, well, how does the Black Panther film now centers around the females? And then you have other people arguing, now it seems to be more of a stepping stone for I think you would call a Mesoamerican or rather the Mexican American lineage in the presentation of Namor the Submariner. So many different things are all wrapped around it, which can actually, especially if you watch my channel as of late, me having to address the directions of fandom, this is going to add more conversation that many people probably are no longer interested in engaging with. But the trailer's here, and we know who the reveal is, and it's a female Panther, more than likely Shuri. There's speculations and rumors and going about the place that there'll be several of them donning the costume, and even more could be spoiler, but more scoops suggesting that Nakia will be pregnant with Black Panther's child by the end of it. Shuri will pass on the mantle to M'Baku. And now there's reports that I'm going to have to start doing a little bit of reading on so we can have the real conversation on that. Marvel might be softly dialing it back on never recasting for T'Challa. That being said, with questions of seeing another black male die and people arguing the pimping, if you will, of his death, using it to sell the film, these are all credible topics of conversation and discourse. With the trailers out here and on this channel, we want to get right to the films, and is it good, and what can we see, and the excitement of seeing these childhood characters brought to life. And we have Black Panther, and the trailer looks, as a person, if you watch my channel, recast T'Challa is very real and right and true with me, and I will not lie. I am looking forward to this film. Each trailer is pushing the line of excitement, mostly because we want to know exactly how it's going to be handled. The visuals look amazing. Namor, like I speak to T, And he even says all he is more concerned with is Namor, because Namor seems to be the standout for him. And I would not lie, he kind of is for me. I love the designs, the concepts behind it. The costume designs look just gorgeous to bring life to the the Mayan history, and putting respect onto that and tying it to Namor, because we can't use Atlantis because we already have an Atlantis out there. It would be best to kind of find a way to separate and differentiate the two from Namor and Aquaman. So here we are, because basically Namor is Aquaman, and Namor in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, came before Aquaman. But when you're dealing with public IPs and legends and characters built off of it, such as Thor, because Thor is a public IP, but the stories around it exactly isn't. That's when you get into these murky grounds. But that's something that I'm looking forward to. But just showing it, like even how, and I like on another channel they talked about it. That's the best way to see it, because I was talking about buoying, how they did the feathers, and I am very, very, very surprised they went that far with it. I might do a direct breakdown of the trailer on my own, but it was amazing to see how you could see him buoying. And I like what someone said, it's the hummingbird effect. They went for the fast flapping, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of what I would have expected anyway, because you can't really have him flapping. It would have to be fast to keep him kind of upright and in the air. But then you could argue the science of it, because you'd have to have hollow bones like birds, and we're not going to do too much with that part of it. You know what I'm saying? Just the visualization just looks amazing. And I'm personally excited because of the trailer, because it really pulls and tugs at the heartstrings and still doesn't really tell you the exact story, even though it's kind of obvious that Black Panther dies, whether it's during the blip or not. We have to express it. He's gone. You already have the earthquakes underwater. They don't want to deal with what's going on because they know what's really going on, and they don't want to go to war with the Atlanteans. Something happens that forces Namor to come up to the surface and deal with Wakanda, and for whatever it is, it brings war to the at the shores, if you will. Even though, if I'm not mistaken, Wakanda isn't actually in the shore, but a flood happens and wars are brought right to the front door of Wakanda, and Wakanda needs a protector. And it looks to be that maybe Namor found out that the Panther, they no longer have the Panther as their protector. He comes up and starts the fight with them because he feels whatever they did to him, he wants to reciprocate back to the surface world. And the scoop is that somehow Doom is at the hand of it, and I can already see the speculations coming from the brothers and sisters about the Doom and how the manipulations, and you can see this in his story about how the white man can manipulate two peoples of color to fight over each other so they could clear the board and take everything after the fight has already been won. You're gonna get that on. I feel like some people are gonna make those comparisons, and rightfully so, because these are historical accuracies, man. And it would have worked better to deal with that in a different time, in the time where we're all hyper analyzing everything for these type of end results. It will make some people just roll their eyes at just having to deal with it, but for some, it actually opens up a place of conversation for what has happened historically in a lot of events when people use coups. These are true. They'll come in and create beefs between two different peoples so they can steal everything. This is a real thing. That's why I could believe the scoop, because this is actually something that's done in history and as of late. Because I remember there was a story about, if I'm not mistaken, U.S. citizens, if I'm not mistaken, going to some other country, and they wanted to steal something out of the country, but they knew that there was an issue going on within the people's, when it comes to like ethno classes or whatever in that country. And what they did was they stoked the fire of the argument and created the beef that would start a coup that would have a country fighting, and they could come in and steal whatever it is that they wanted to steal out. And the people of the country found out and captured those people, and I think they ransomed them back to these U.S. people, because they were from the U.S., but they were like of money, like families' money. If I could find it, I'll make sure that I'll put a spot in the trailer. In the video of it. But bottom line is, these things have happened, and this will, I'm sure, is going to make more conversation. But past that now, we're going to deal with Shuri now. And my whole big conversation with Shuri was, she wasn't designed in the MCU to be more than just a lab rat. They didn't develop her as a warrior that she is, and is acknowledged that in the comics. And we've seen it in the first movie. She is not a fighter. That's not what she does. I'm sure she has some level of skill, probably that's above the level of the average person. Make no doubt about it. She is of the Panther lineage, but she doesn't strike me as a type that, wow, her big brother was practicing fighting in the dojo, that she was worrying about her different skills at such a young age physically, that if she's so much far advanced than everyone else, I would have expected her to spend way more time in the book than in a dojo learning how to fight. And the fact that she's ahead of a lot of their tech stuff, and she's acknowledged as a genius, her benchmark is that, not as a warrior. And there was nothing about her that she expressed that showed that she wanted to be that way. So this film is going to have to carry and juggle a lot of different things to make it believable that she could be the Panther on par with her brother. That's why I will buy into the fact that there were several other Panthers, people utilizing it. Maybe other females, obviously, maybe Okoye, because a lot of people feel like she was a better fit. Nakia, maybe they all wore it, but they all representing the Panther, so she could look more mythical and more powerful than what she ever could be, because she's not that. She is not T'Challa. They've made that very clear, and T'Challa is not her. He is extremely smart. They made that clear because he made his own suit and he furthered the suit, so he's hyper intelligent. She is genius to him. She mastered nanotechnology when he didn't, because obviously he was more focused on being a leader and being a fighter as opposed to his academic prowess. He was hyper intelligent, but not to the level of his little sister. That has been already lamented, and it's already been clear. So what are we going to do with her to make her believable, to elevate her to the level of what T'Challa was doing? By suggesting that there were other people wearing a suit as well. And that can make sense, and that could work. They're saying that M'Baku is going to take on a bigger role and presence in the MCU moving forward. They're saying that he will be the Black Panther by the end, and they will let it be known that T'Challa has a son, and move on. All things that I don't like. I'd rather this just take place in a blip. Maybe even hint that there is a child if you want to do that. But when we come back into the next movie, I like to think that the Panther is back and recasted. They still have opportunity to do so, depending especially on how the MCU is going to be moving forward. Now, they might be able to get another T'Challa during Secret Wars, if that's where the X-Men may show up, whether it's a newly minted X MCU X-Men, or they may just utilize X-Men from the Fox universe in the Secret Wars event, where they're crossing from different universes. There's a lot that you can do while we have a multiverse to explain T'Challa being back. Or rather, which I prefer, say this happened during the blip. But I don't know. You guys let me know. The trailer does look amazing. The music selection, how they presented it, the cinematography, a lot of the way it was edited and cut to kind of at least give you an idea of what this story is and where this story will go. I'm totally excited for. What's going to be the uphill battle is execution. And there's some people that, especially if you're going to hold tight to the right, that there'll be no new Panther. If you make it explicitly clear that there can never be another T'Challa in this film, that's going to be the talk of the town. They're going to have to leave it very ambiguous and see how people take the film without him. A Wakanda without a T'Challa is real bad. That doesn't mean that that we can't have another Panther, but we need T'Challa because the character is very important to furthering the story of who the Panther is. No different than the Batman, because the Batman has become a title over time. And at the same time, we know Bruce is Batman, just like T'Challa is the Black Panther. That being said, let me know what you guys thought about the trailer. Are you excited about it? Did it give you everything that you wanted it to give you? Because it gave a lot to me. It allowed me to really see that they're really handling this franchise with care. And not only that, the detail work, the cinematography, the character designs are phenomenal. And I'm really liking the very small glimpses I see of Riri. Even though she doesn't look like the girl in the comics, it looked like a whole different rendition of her. To be honest, Shuri looks more like Riri Williams with the haircut, except that she's just a lot taller. That being said, I'm very interested to see how her role plays into this. I'm not a fan of every black character having to have everything to do with Wakanda or being in Wakanda. So this is going to be a different approach to it. I know that the comic book series has labored struggles to try to gain a healthy audience to keep that run going as a fixator in the comic book lore. But maybe these subtle changes can unlock, and new narrative directions of our origins can unlock certain key ingredients that is needed to make people gravitate towards the book. If not just that, maybe they'll find some product research, if you will, field research, if you will, to see where they're missing the mark at in the books to further her story and actually lament her as her own character. Because in the beginning, she was Iron Man. And then they had to, if I'm not mistaken, they referred to her as Iron Man. Then they had to switch it up and refer to it as Iron Heart to differentiate between the two. And again, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle, but you're going to have to do something significantly different to make her an appealing character and an attractive character, especially when she's carrying on the mantle of Tony Stark. And for all the ancillary, the weirdos that are more focused on the race of it, there is an element of people feeling this black woman or little girl being his how you would call it, his heir, to carry on his name. And I'm sure there's a little bit of apprehension just because of that, if not a lot. But that's not going to be the lion's share of it. A lot of people are not interested in new narratives and new people taking over mantles. This has been seen in comics before. There have been some successes, make no mistake, but there have been a lot of failures. So Miles Morales is a great success story. But let me know how you guys feel about that. Are you excited for Riri Williams? Have you read the book? Yeah, man, let's chop it up in the comments below, man. I'm really interested in seeing all these new characters that they bring out. I knew that there was no way they was going to be able to take it off the table because they needed to bring Namor in. As you expand the universe into streaming, when you had things mapped out and unfortunate people pass on, and if I'm not mistaken, one of the elders had died from the Black Panther that was in the film, you have to move it right along. Even Everett Ross has passed because his character needs to go forward to move the Thunderbolt story forward. They have to recast. I don't see why we can't recast T'Challa. Just how I feel. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. But again, trailer is dope. Had a great time with it. I look forward to seeing this film, and I hope you guys do too. And as always, you already know what the deal is. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro. Chill.